They don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host.
Me, Melissa. Hey.
Melissa, and as you can tell, we got a new location, our traveling office. We're actually on our way to Flip Hacking Live in Orlando, and had to make time for this awesome guest today. We're going to introduce you to Sean Bradley. He's Seth Bradley, and he's a managing partner of Law Capital Partners. And Seth, we're super stoked to have you. I'm sorry I'm not as prepared as I normally would be. Please bear with us. I don't have my notebook. I don't have my office. So we're really struggling today, but I'm glad that you were able to find time for us.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Thanks for having me on, especially taking the time from your vehicle and on the road there. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Look, Seth, usually I'd like it if you can introduce yourself to our audience. I think it's super amazing, the stuff that you're doing, but more importantly, I think you're the first lawyer that we've ever had on.
No, Amy.
Oh, you're right. We did have Amy on. Okay. So we got one other lawyer ahead of you, but it's awesome because the perspective that you guys can bring with your law background to the real estate environment is super important. And I'm hoping you can give us a little bit of that when you introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just start a little bit farther back with my backstory. I grew up in a little town in West Virginia. So my family was totally blue collar. My dad's a retired coal miner. My mom's a retired school teacher. And I just kind of grew up with that W-2, 9-to-5 grind away mindset. So to me, growing up, the best job I could get was to become a doctor. So I went to med school, went for about a year and a little bit into my second year before I literally got up in the middle of class and walked out. I just said, I know this isn't for me. I know I put a ton of effort and time and money and everything else into this, but I know this is not for me. And I got out of there. Eventually I got my MBA and went to law school because I still had that same mindset as in, what's the next best job I can get? And to me, I guess it was be an attorney. So I went to law school, went down that pathway, did the big law firm stuff, actually became a real estate attorney, specialized in real estate, started getting exposed to, commercial assets and getting exposed to developers and investors, closing these $50, $100 million deals. But all at the same time, it was kind of a mental transition for me to go from that service provider, W-2, 9-to-5 mindset to, well, how can I get on the other side of the table and be the equity partner on these deals and actually, get paid like I'm supposed to get paid instead of being a service provider. So, the wheels started turning as far as getting involved in real estate. And, I started with the single family stuff, the fix and flips, the buy and holds 1 to 4 units, and kind of hit that ceiling that a lot of people always talk about where you're trying to scale and trying to figure out how I can take the next step. And, I started investing passively in syndications first, because that's what I was advised to do. And I think that was really good advice. I give the same advice to people that want to get started in larger commercial properties and transition my way into the active side.
Very cool.
That's great. I think that we see a lot of people make that transition, but nobody talks about coming in and being a passive partner at first. Can you tell me maybe what some of those deals look like and why you think that it was a benefit to your investing cycle or your investing career?
Yeah. And I'll start out by saying, I have experience before I invested passively in large commercial properties from the legal standpoint. I was helping folks close, again, $50 to $100 million deals or more. These are huge properties, hotels and resorts and multifamily. But even having that experience and that background, I still was networking with people and talking to operators. And even though my end game was always to be on the active side of things, they still said, well, maybe you should invest passively. And, that can come with a grain of salt because they want you to invest passively. Right?
Yeah, they want your money.
Exactly. But I think it was sage advice. I mean, by investing passively first, you don't have to, but I think you get a lot of really good experience from it, especially if you plan on being on the active side at some point in time. At least you can kind of see from the investor standpoint what they're looking for, what's important to them because you're in their shoes to begin with. And you can take that perspective with you moving forward. So I think it's really important. It's really good experience. And, if you invest right and you do kind of your due diligence on the sponsors, hopefully it's a good investment anyway. So it's not like it's a waste of money. You're actually investing in a nice property as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the reasons why it's so important, and I did this when it came to private lending, I private lend my own money before I started receiving money from other people because, and it's the same thing being a passive partner in a syndication is when you start out doing that, now you understand what it's like to have your money in somebody else's hands. You understand what the benefit of good communication coming from the general partners to the limited partners. You understand what it feels like to obviously you probably joined a great syndication and they were super good at communication, but it does feel a little bit different when it's your money in somebody else's hands than it does when you have that money. And I think recognizing that from actually doing it is a benefit, and you can relate to these people who are lending you money later on.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in their shoes and you know exactly what to expect, then you can be a better operator whenever you do become that on the active side. A big thing that you touched on there is the communication. I think that gets lost a lot from operators because I just don't think that they have, a lot of folks they don't have the perspective, or maybe they kind of lost touch with it a little bit about how important that is to stay in touch with your investors because they send a bunch of money to you to invest, $50,000, $100,000. That's a lot of money. Sometimes we kind of lose track of how much money that really is. Right. And, they need that communication at least monthly, that open door policy to just, kind of just be there and say, hey, everything's okay. Things are going well. These things aren't going well. And, we're still good stewards of your money.
Yeah, that's great. I guess my next question is a little bit, it goes a little bit off of that, but when I'm doing a real estate deal, there's a ton of stuff that I get away with because I don't know the legal answer to, or maybe I'm not afraid of it because I don't have the legal answer. I imagine that coming in as a real estate attorney, that you're seeing a lot of things that I'm not. Does that limit you? Does that help you? Does it make you a little bit more apprehensive to get into some of these creative finance type deals, that the other things that my lawyer always advises me against?
I think it helps me. I mean, I can, as an attorney, your main job is to limit your liability and to see how much risk there is. And investing in real estate, you should be aware of your liabilities and the risk that you're getting yourself into. So, the more creative things get, maybe the more risky they get. But also, I'm an investor first at this point. So I'm also not just trying to kill the deal. I'm trying to make the deal work, so, you got to find that happy medium. And if it makes sense, and I think the risk is worth the reward, then, you move forward with it. I mean, there are gray areas and sometimes you're playing in that gray area.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it that you saw working on the legal side of things that enticed you to come over to the investor side? Was it just about the money? Was it about the equal pay for the amount of work that you were doing? Did you realize the investors weren't doing it, the hard due diligence that you had to put into it to make more money? What was it that brought you over?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the trading dollars for hours. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you want to be able to trade less time for more money, whatever that looks like. There needs to be a disproportionate in and out. That's what I call passive income, because I think passive income is kind of on a sliding scale, right? I mean, you can have really active and really passive, and you're probably going to end up somewhere in the middle. It all depends on kind of how much time you've got to put in for, what you get on the back end. So seeing those folks and the time that they put in, and then, there's a lot of due diligence stuff up front, and obviously operating the property is complicated and has its risks, but at the same time, they're not trading hour for hour. They're not billing every 6 minutes of their time like I did at a law firm to get paid. And just seeing that, and also seeing some of the older partners in the firm that were still there. They're in their 60s, their 70s. They're still plugging away. And you're like, man, is that the end goal? Is that where I want to be in 40 years? Like that, it's not. I mean, they might be making a ton of money, but at this point in their lives, they're still stuck in the office. And they've already, put in those decades of work. And that's, for me, I saw that end game, and it wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right now, we're working on setting up a 1031 exchange for some of the properties that we have. And some of the things that we are looking at are storage units, mobile home parks, and one of our buddies is actually doing a big RV park too. I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that deal, how you guys found it, how you're doing the due diligence on it, because it's a little bit different than some of these other multifamily. It's almost a hospitality-driven industry, kind of like Airbnb, as opposed to, an apartment complex or something. Can we dive into that deal a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's, I'm still learning the RV park game. I've actually got partnered up with a guy who's one of the top 10 operators in the country. So if you're going to dive into something new, partner with someone that knows already what they're doing. And especially with RV parks, because not a lot of people know about RV parks. It's not, multifamily where you can kind of go on YouTube and just, get tons of information on it. If you Google, how to buy an RV park, you'll find some stuff, but a lot of it's even lumped in with mobile home parks. A lot of people say mobile home parks and RV parks. They are totally different things. They're not even the same animal. Like you mentioned, RV parks are more like a hospitality play. They're more like a hotel than, let's say, a mobile do park. A mobile home park's more like an apartment building, similar to. RV parks and mobile home parks have absolutely nothing to do with each other. But, again, I'm learning the ropes. A lot of things you need to look at, or a couple of things, there's two types of RV parks. You've got your destination parks. You've got your journey parks where you're going to stop and just spend the night there because you're going somewhere else to try to get to a destination. Then destination parks are where you want to end up, and maybe you'll spend a week, 2 weeks, a month there. Those are the kind of parks that we're interested in, the destination parks, where you can actually add quite a bit of value because you can charge a little bit of a premium. You can add lots. You can, fix up all the common amenities like the pools, like, any kind of like family related stuff like, putt golf and things like that. You can do all sorts of things. And I think what people thought was the RV parks were going to go away as the older generations kind of died out. But what's happened is the millennials and the younger folks love it. And, they're buying the Mercedes Sprinter vans and pimping them out. And then, they're really traveling, man. And
I feel like they'd rather do that than buy a house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty amazing. Well, can you tell us a little bit about the deal, where it's at and what you guys are? Have you closed on it yet, or
no, I haven't closed on it yet. I can be a little bit vague. So it's about a $5 million deal. It's down in Louisiana, destination park. There's tons of value add there. You can do certain things like glamping, where it doesn't take a lot of money to create these quote unquote glamping spaces. And, the young folks, they love it. They love the glamping idea. It kind of started at music festivals and now it's kind of moving its way into RV parks. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that sounds great. Some of the other deals that you've worked on are just regular syndications. And what you had said, I'm not sure if that was before we got on air or not, but that you're kind of a capital raiser now. Can you tell me what that looks like for some of your syndications? Maybe your super secret strategy on how we can get somebody to give us $100 million to invest in an RV park.
Yeah, I mean, for folks that especially folks that want to be on the active side, you've got to figure out a way to bring value to deals, whether that's raising capital or investor relations, due diligence. Maybe you're a really good underwriter. Maybe there's something you do in your current profession that you can offer. And that was my angle, was my current profession. I'm a real estate attorney. So I was able to say, hey, I'll come in. Maybe I'll be the real estate attorney on the deal. Maybe I'll be the syndication attorney on the deal. I'll draft and negotiate all the documents, or maybe I'll just oversee the attorneys that are already there to make sure, get a second set of eyes on everything. And at the same time, able to raise capital. I feel like my strength and my knowledge is in multifamily, but I'm seeing a lot of opportunities in other asset types like RV parks, like build to rent communities, things like that. So if you're going to do something like that, you got to get involved with the right people, the experts, the people that have the track record and can rinse and repeat.
Where are you finding these guys at? Where do you network with? How do you network? If most of our show's audience are either beginning to mid-level investors, but where are they going to find these number one mobile home park investor in the country, or these people to network with, and how can they provide value to them in order to be brought on to some of these projects?
Yeah, it's easier than ever now. I think through the pandemic, it's made meeting online normal and acceptable, and you're not weird by doing it. There are people that I even consider friends that I've never even met in person at this point. So you've just got to get out there and network. I've met so many people through just LinkedIn networking, and not trying to sell things or sell yourself, but just reach out and have an honest conversation. If you're interested in real estate, there's so many people, you love just talking about real estate. Like I do. So it's just people want to talk. So schedule a call, just network, get out there, reach out to the people that, are already leaders in that asset type, and just get started and get the conversation going.
That's good advice. Yep.
Well, if people wanted to find out a little bit more about you, if they wanted to learn about either the private money that you're raising or any of the information that you have out there, where can they go to figure some of that out?
Yeah, I've got a podcast. It's called the Passive Income Attorney Podcast. You can find it at passiveincomeattorney.com. That'd be a great place to get started. You can find me on all social media platforms. You can also download the Freedom Blueprint, 8 things your financial advisor doesn't want you to know. So I'm always going to battle with those guys. You can get that at attorneybydesign.com.
Attorneybydesign.com. We'll link that in the show notes. I think that there's a lot of good information in there, and that everybody wants to get the information they need from a real estate attorney, but nobody wants to go and pay them the money to hear their thoughts. And you're giving information like that out for free on your podcast, and you're providing a lot of value for these people. So I definitely recommend everybody get over there and check it out. As soon as we get off of here, I'm going to subscribe to your podcast and start listening to that for the rest of our road trip to Orlando. So we really appreciate you coming on the show today, and can't wait to follow your journey.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
It's awesome. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.